I want everybody listening to this to take this the right way. And I know most of the people that will watch this will do so because otherwise you wouldn't be on this channel. But the chosen ones, the God's people on this earth, they are ahead of their own time. And I've come to this conclusion that it's not necessarily what our beliefs tell us as God's people that are important. It's what we know from our experiences and what we see from our experiences that is going to reveal to us the truth of each situation that we're in. It has come to my attention over the past couple weeks or so that most people really just don't even have their own thoughts. Like, I've always known this, and I'm sure most of you guys have experienced this, but it's even the people that are on the self-improvement journey, even the people that are on the self-improvement path, they genuinely do not have their own thoughts a lot of the time, a large percentage of the time. And so what I want to talk about today is the importance of journaling and how it is vital for you as a godly person, just a person, just a person, especially a godly person, to journal out your thoughts. Now, a lot of the times, people cannot even write something without being stimulated by something else. They have to read about something, or they have to be inspired by something they see outside. It's something like that. And something that I've noticed about journaling. Now, I've been journaling every day for over 4 years. And I was talking about this topic with someone in a consultation recently, and I decided to make a video on it because of the importance of it and why it is absolutely necessary for us to journal and why it's important to journal anyway. The reason that I started journaling was, well, it was August of 2019. Yeah, 2019. And something within me had just told me to start journaling, just to start documenting my dreams, because the dreams were becoming so wild. Like, they were becoming so elusive and mysterious in nature. It was definitely an enigma, you could say. And so I was trying to put the pieces together because I had had my spiritual awakening a few months to about 6 months before that. So it's been about 5 years now since that time of my spiritual awakening. And I was not always a godly person. I was a person that didn't really believe much in the meaning of things. In fact, whenever I did see pictures of Jesus or whatever, I wanted to vomit because I always saw it. It was everywhere for me for some reason. Like, I remember at my grandparents' house, there would be pictures of Jesus in the bedroom when we stayed the night, and it freaked me out. I didn't like the idea of someone watching me while I slept. And in retrospect, it wasn't that. It was that I knew deep down that there was, maybe it wasn't Jesus at the time. I didn't think it was Jesus, but there was something with me. There was something watching me. And a lot of the times we don't like to think of someone, or someone with authority specifically, watching us every move that we make and being able to see everything that we do all the time, because we don't want always to see the fabric of reality bend in a way that reshapes us and bends us to its will rather than the other way around. So Anyway, I started journaling, and soon I began to realize how poor my writing ability was. And I was even in school at the time, and I was a philosophy degree. Like I was writing a lot. I was writing very often. But when I went back to read what I was writing, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. It didn't make a lot of sense, like what I was actually saying. And I was like, well, are these even my own thoughts? And that was a boom, a light bulb moment. It was a moment for me when I realized how much I had not even allowed my spirit to present itself, and how much I did not even have a spirit to present. It was like I was crawling back through matter to find myself and my spirit again. And that's really what the dreams at the time that I was having were representing. I had a lot of dreams of fighting monsters. I remember one dream specifically that I had that, well, I will never forget. And I was battling a bunch of transformer vampire demons. And I had been given a green glowing sword. It was one of the most vivid dreams I've ever had. And I had to fight these transformer monster demon vampire things. And I was in the city, and it was raining, and it was just a very dark atmosphere. And the sword was given to me by the universe. It was just given to me by virtue of wanting to seek something more. I remember another dream that I had that was very, very intense was where I was playing Fortnite a lot at the time. For those that don't know, Fortnite is a video game online. It's a battle royale game. So you enter the game, you drop from above onto a map, and then you try to beat all of the other people that are playing on this map. And the map shrinks in size the longer you play, so you're forced to confront one another until there's someone that's standing on the last little bit. And so I had a dream that I was playing Fortnite, and I was in like a Star Wars. I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a Star Wars environment, like Coruscant. If anybody's seen Star Wars, a big city, huge city, and I was playing Fortnite against a bunch of the different kinds of spirits and different kinds of people. And some of the people I knew, some of them I didn't know. And all I remember was I traveled down in one of the buildings, and there was a big wooden door. And I actually drew the wooden door in my journal. And this is something else I recommend you do in your journaling as well, is if you see any images or anything that stands out to you, draw it, because that's going to leave a psychological impression for you later on, and it's going to imprint even stronger going forward. So anyway, I saw this door, this gigantic wooden door with two flames on the side. And when I went to open the door, there was a gigantic purple snake, like just massive. And it went to attack me, but I was able to shut the door beforehand. And I heard a voice saying something along the lines of, "It's not quite ready yet. It's not quite ready yet." And so I never really understood what that meant at the time, but I was documenting it. So it wasn't until about a year later when I started to get more understanding of the chakras and everything like that, because I had had dreams where my kundalini was activated. Now, I had never considered kundalini or chakras to be a legitimate thing. And if it wasn't for these experiences that I had, I still wouldn't have, I don't think I would ever have believed it. And So one of the dreams that I had was, and I've talked about this dream in a video a long time ago, but the dream that ignited my Kundalini awakening was a dream where I was seeing bubbles of time in space, and I could pop through and peer through each bubble and live a lifetime in that bubble if I so wanted to. And when I popped out, my solar plexus, my heart, and my third eye was completely burning. Like it was burning with a fiery passion of pure love. And I don't know how else to describe it. And I woke up from the dream and I looked at myself in the mirror, and it was as if my soul came back to the body for the first time in a long time. Like I didn't even, actually not even a long time. It was as if it was the first time ever. And I genuinely believe that if I didn't document some of the experiences prior to before that, I wouldn't have had the kind of intensity that I did. And later on, it wasn't until about 2 years ago now that I really started to follow Jesus a little bit more closely. And so something that I've been able to see in these 4+ years of documenting and journaling itself every single day. I journal every single day for at least 30 minutes minimum, usually. Like sometimes I go for an hour and a half if I have a lot of things on my mind and I just want to spit stuff out. Because sometimes that's the most important thing about journaling, is just spitting out what you need to spit out. You don't need it to be perfect. You don't need it to be super sophisticated. You don't need it to be of a professional quality, because what it really is for you. Now, I'm not saying like don't try. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you have to put some honest effort into what you are doing. So when I first started to follow Jesus about 2 years ago, and I started to get really serious about it, and it wasn't until January of 2022, so last year, just under 2 years ago, where I had my full-fledged moment with Jesus. And I remember at the time, it wasn't like I was lost. It wasn't like I was like in a bad place. I just didn't know where to go. Like I just didn't know, like I had meaning in my life. I knew the path that I wanted to take, but I didn't know if I had the courage or the bravery to do it. And so I was documenting about this, and I was journaling this, and there was just one day where all of it came together. All of it came crashing down upon me. And it was like all of the burdens that I had placed on my shoulders, even though they were still there, it wasn't as heavy, because I knew that Jesus was with me. And I knew that Jesus was pleased with the work that I've been doing. Because this is one other thing about journaling, is that you're going to start to see a reflection of your thoughts into your reality. You're going to start to see how you work and what you're working for and what you're working toward. There's going to be a reflection of that in your reality. And so by journaling, and because what you're doing is creating, in a sense. And that's one of the most important things that I think anybody can do in this lifetime, is create. It's all about being a co-creator with the creator. And so if what you create is pleasing to the creator will reward you. And I've seen this time and time again. There's been times where I don't think the work is going to be worth it, because it's just so much effort, and it's like, wow, I'm just putting in so much time, so much energy, so much resources into something that I'm not getting dividends back on. But that sometimes is the point. And it's the same thing with journaling. It's for its own sake. And so especially as men out here, and you need to be documenting your desires. documenting your lustful thoughts. This is something I recommend to all people in my consultations is that whenever you're struggling with any kind of sin, write about it. And write about where you want to be. Write about how you want to get there. And why it's important for you to get there. Remember your why. And sometimes, you can journal however you want, right? Like, this is your thing. I like to create, you guys know those like in the fairy tales where they have like the capital letter at the beginning of each paragraph or new page or whatever, and they have like all these fancy like flowers, or they have like this unique like they turn the, I might have an example here. Well, I'll show the example another time, but it's there. I'll show an artwork piece in the description box below. I'll make sure to include that of what I'm talking about. It's basically like calligraphy, right? And so I like to do that in my journals. Whenever I have like a new thought that's inspiring to me, I like to make one of those where I outline it in a square, and then I have the letter, and then I doodle inside the letter. And for me, it's just something extra creative, and it's particularly pertaining to the topic that I'm talking about at hand. And so that also leaves an imprint, and it's also going to help you create. And there's just a variety of different ways you can go about this. Like, there's no one way to journal. There's no one way to do anything, really. Like, there's no true instruction manual to life except for the Bible, as far as I can tell. And for those that are not specifically Bible followers or believers, or Jesus followers or believers, and I don't consider myself a believer. Like, I wouldn't be here today if I just believed, right? If I just believed it. For me, it was a happening. Like, it just happened. It wasn't something that happened to me or anything like that. It was something that just simply happened. It was literally, I was not even looking for Jesus. I was not looking for Jesus at all. But suddenly, when I did get to that moment, and I describe it in detail in my journals, which I don't think I'll ever reveal to anybody until after I'm dead anyway. But in the details of what I go through in my journals of what I went through during that process, the best way that I can describe it is that it was as if my mind itself and my soul itself was in a monastery of singing angels. And I could feel Jesus living with each of us eternally. And I never, like, it was the most amazing thing. To this day, I like, it's not something you'll just miss, right? And it really did feel like I was being brought back from the dead. But it took me going through all of this other stuff in order to get there. And so how do I reconcile? I know some people might be asking in the comments, because I've heard this question before. How do I reconcile chakras with, following Jesus? Because I do consider myself a follower of Jesus. Well, I did have a dream around January, February last year, right at the time where I started to, really be born again, you could say, where Jesus told me that I need to ground in the Father. But we were in the forest, and there were these 7 balls of fire that represented the chakras, and they scorched into the earth. And Jesus basically told me that, like he implied and insinuated in this dream, that even though the chakras are real in a sense and they're energy centers, you still must ground yourself in the Father, in God. And so that was a very powerful thing. And I want to clear that up for anybody that does have questions about that. I'm a very nuanced follower of Jesus. If you haven't gotten that so far in this video or in any of my other videos, I'm a very nuanced person in general. I take truth like I take truth as truth. There's no one truth for me. There is the truth and there is falsehoods. And the Bible is not the end all be all. And I've read stuff in the Quran that I completely agree with. I've read stuff in the how do you pronounce it? The Bhagavad Gita. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's basically an Eastern form of like the Bible or Quran. And I've found truth in that. Like I'm very open-minded to different cultures because I understand that we are all trying to get at the one thing. And this one thing is going to be bringing your spirit into matter. Psychologically, biologically, and psychophysiologically. That's what we're here to do. And that's one of the reasons why journaling is going to be so important, is because it's going to allow you to operate in that way. So I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.